Alright, so I am well aware we are only 3 games into the NBA season. Everything you say at this point is going to sound like an overreaction. So I try to be as fair and as nuanced as possible, but today we're going back to the Jonathan Kuminga well. But this time we're really going to talk about how his play affects other people on this team. Now historically, since Kuminga and Moody have came into the league at the same time, right? If you look back, usually only one of them at a time is in the rotation. It's very rare that Kuminga and Moody are getting 20 plus minutes, right? Because even though they do it in different ways, they kind of occupy the same role on this team, or at least they had. A point of attack defender, Moody has been better at that. Kuminga being a finisher at the rim, Moody being a finisher with his three-point shooting, and they haven't been asked to do much more than that on each side of the ball. But now the way Kuminga is playing, and I'm not saying we should think, oh, he's going to play like this forever now, everything's good. Him and Steve Kerr are on one accord. Let's wait and see with that, right? Again, maybe an overreaction. But the way Kuminga is playing right now is almost like a secondary playmaker, and that is affecting Brandon Podziemski. Because that is what he does. That's his role on this team. He's supposed to be the backup point guard, and he's supposed to be a two guard you can put next to Steph that kind of does everything on the court. But right now, Kuminga has been the do-it-all guy, and so much so, again, this is very early. Kuminga, the Warriors play tonight against the Grizzlies. He'll probably have a huge game, right? Pods will probably have a huge game. But through 3 games, Kuminga has 12 assists, Pods has 3 assists. I'm not trying to extrapolate too much from that, other than to show you guys what's going on right now. Kuminga's been much more in a playmaker role than Pods, which is something I don't think any of us would have seen coming. And if Pods doesn't have that obligation on the court, it kind of is like, what are you doing out here? Because you're not this elite shooter, you're a decent defender in terms of drawing your charges, you're usually in the right place, you're a good rebounder, right? He does all these little things, but those are less important if you got other players doing those little things. And now Kuminga's doing those little things, and now Al Horford is doing those little things. And that just objectively makes Pod's role lesser on this team. If you look at last year, it was Steph, Jimmy, Draymond. No one else on that team could really pass besides Pods. And I still think Pods has a role on this team. I just don't think it's what he thought it was going to be. And we see this with players that are kind of the do-it-all guys. But usually one of them, they have something they are elite at. Josh Hart has his rebounding. Pods is a very good rebounder, but not like Josh Hart level of rebounder. And it's like, if you don't have that one thing to rely on and you're just a do-it-all guy, and now we have other do-it-all guys, even if they don't do everything as well as you, they do it all, and then they also have, I don't want to say elite, but somewhat elite skills. Like Al Horford, not elite defender anymore, but still very good defender. Kuminga, if he's going to be a do-it-all guy, still one-of-one athlete at the rim, where it's like Pods, we got other guys that are doing the things that you used to provide for us. And then when you really look at it, this Warriors team, they have a bunch of shooting guards. Moody, Pods, Melton, Buddy Hield, Seth Curry, Will Richard now. Another thing might be affecting Pods a little bit. This rookie out of nowhere is doing a lot of the little things. And I was going to say before, when you have the do-it-all guy, not even that they are aware that they are doing this, but they can hide from certain aspects of the game because they do it all. Now Pods can't hide from the fact that for him to be on the court, he has to be making a shot. He can't hide from that anymore. He can't just go get a charge and get a rebound, and all that's fine. But we can have Kuminga on the court, we could have Moody on the court, we could have D'Anthony Melton on the court. If you're not going to knock down your shots, we got other guys that can move the ball and get boards. And I've made this point about New York, when they actually have Mitchell Robinson, all of a sudden everything else Josh Hart does on the court is not all that impactful. If you just take away the necessary rebounding, like you don't need him to be a monster on the boards, what else can you really provide? You're average at defense, you're a bad shooter, like you're an okay passer, all that's fine, but he has the elite rebounding to hang his hat on, whereas Pod's like, what are you hanging your hat on, and then do we need that? And again, everything is going well right now with Kuminga. I do expect some bumps in the road. I do expect him not to be starter 82 games this season. That would be an amazing turnaround. So, again, 3 games in, far from over. The story is not written, all that. But something that accelerated this thought process for me was a lineup that I don't think any of us thought we would see this early in the year. Maybe not at all this year. We've seen a lineup with the Warriors going big, or call it big for the Warriors, Al Horford at the 5, Draymond at the 4, Jimmy at the 3, Kuminga at the 2, Curry at the 1. If we can see Kuminga closing games at the 2, I'm not saying it's a consistent thing. I'm saying if that is an option, if that's an option, Kuminga at the 2 is an option, Moody at the 2 is an option, Melton at the 2 is an option, Buddy at the 2 is an option, Will Richard at the 2 is an option. It's like, how valuable is Pods actually to this team? And I'm a Pods believer. I think Pods is going to be very good. But this is where we have to talk about the uniqueness of this Warriors situation, and it's kind of a repeat of the Kuminga situation where they waited and waited and waited. Then all of a sudden he had no trade value. Is that what we're going to see here with Pods? Now, people love to say, oh, they wouldn't give up Pods for Larry Marketing. That's not what happened. We all know, if we use common sense, there's probably a lot more to that deal than Pods and Larry Marketing. But I would say majority of teams that would be trading for Pods need him more than it seems like the Warriors are going to need him right now, just being real. And the Warriors are in a unique position where if Pods, let's say, I've said this before, but like the best possible outcome for Pods is a Kyle Lowry. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but like I can see that as the ceiling. If you give up a potential Kyle Lowry for an opportunity to win right now with Steph, I'm not losing any sleep over that if I'm the Warriors. Like, that's fine. But what is Kyle Lowry going to do for us post-Steph anyways? You know, like, and maybe it's on me for being kind of shocked with this development, but the added playmaking of Al Horford and Kuminga taking on this role has definitely been a shock to Pods and what his importance to this team is. And now every shot is weighing on him because, like, that's important now. Before, he could, you know, he didn't have to shoot well because he provided other things on the court. And if you look at his stats, right, his three-point percentage, he shoots well in totality, but he turns down a lot of shots because he doesn't have to take them. Now, you got to take those shots and you got to knock them down, or else we don't really need you on the court. We got Steph Curry, we got Jimmy Butler, we got Draymond Green. We don't need your passing on the court. And if I have Steph, Draymond, Jimmy, Al Horford as closers already, what do I want to put next to those guys? Probably not another guy that's just going to pass the ball. We probably want to put someone on that court that can finish plays, like a Kuminga, like a Moody, like a Buddy Hield. But things change, injuries happen. Pods will have a great run coming up here soon. But at this team's full strength, which we haven't even seen yet, you know, Moody played one game, Melton hasn't played at all. At full strength, really, if you look at it, Pod's only role on this team seems to be backup point guard. It seems to be backup point guard. And then that's also something he doesn't really excel at, right? He doesn't handle ball pressure great. He's not this great playmaker. He gets into the lane, but he can't really finish in the lane amongst the trees, really. So it's like he's really at his best playing off of Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler, but now Kuminga's playing off of Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler, and Kuminga is a lot more dynamic at doing it. And I really like Pods, but just those two additions, right? Al Horford and Kuminga in this role really, really minimizes what his importance to this team is. And I know it's way, way, way too early in the season to talk about trades, but like I said, the Warriors are in such a unique position where it's all about this year, next year, and maybe the year after that. Again, if Pods turns into Kyle Lowry, the Warriors should really not care about that. If they have to trade Kyle Lowry to win this year, hypothetically, they should not care about that. So you know what? I'm actually going to restrain myself. We're not going to go to the trade machine yet. I'm just going to throw out 3 teams that come to mind that would really want Pods: the Pistons, the Timberwolves, the Mavericks. I think the most likely fit there of a potential trade would be the Mavericks, maybe Daniel Gafford. Maybe there's some crazy trade where they get D'Lo and Gafford. Don't ask me how that would happen. Just throwing it out there because they would need a backup point guard. That's as far as I'm going to go. That's just a team that comes to mind immediately. Also, Cooper Flagg said Pods was his favorite player to play with during the Team USA thing. Just throwing it out there. But we're going to leave it there for now. Again, I don't think Pods is a bad player. I just think his role is limited on this team now. That can change. We'll see what happens tonight. Probably a big game from Pods against the Memphis Grizzlies. We'll see. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Please like, please comment, please subscribe. It'll mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm out. Peace.